guys, hope you're doing well as always, and welcome back to another video. And today we are going to be exploring the abandoned ground and what is left of it of Truro City FC. And we're also going to be explaining how it's ended up like this, because you can see abandoned ground behind me, but that little slightly further along has got something to do with it. But before we get into today's video, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a brief backstory on Truro City FC. Non-league side Truro City are a side who play their football in the Cornish town of, you guessed it, Truro, or at least that's where they're supposed to. Founded in 1889, the club play their trade in the National League South, just 2 leagues away from the English League 2, and as recently as 2007, the side became the first Cornish side ever to win a national trophy following their win in the FA Vase, which ties in nicely to my brand new FA Vase Road to Wembley series, where I've been following the winning team from each round of the competition until that glorious final at Wembley, which you should definitely check out and hopefully follow along with. Although I can't imagine that the attendance at this year's final will be able to triumph the record set in Truro's winning final, with 36,232 people there to witness the second ever match to be held at the newly constructed Wembley Stadium. In 2005, the ball started rolling for Truro to be leaving their historic ground of Truro Road, the stadium that had been their home since the mid-1900s, after putting forward plans of a new 16,000 capacity stadium, initially in the same location. Those plans were rejected, however, after it was concluded that the location wasn't suitable due to the effects it would have on traffic, with the ground intended to be shared between the non-league side as well as rugby union side Cornish Pirates. With further failed attempts to get this dream stadium off the ground in 2007, 2010 and 2014, Truro City eventually decided to sell their home onto a developer in 2014 to try and raise some funds that would go towards their new stadium. By 2017, Truro City had finally been evicted in replace of a load of new supermarkets. That's what the new land developers wanted to build, a bit like this Lidl behind me, as well as a Wren's Kitchens, although that hasn't actually been built yet, leaving these ugly boards outside of Lidl supermarket with the stadium's remains on the other side. Much like the plans for Truro City's new stadium, there was delay after delay after delay in the construction of this Lidl behind me, and with no news on any development for Wren's Kitchens going forward, it casts doubts on whether that will actually even take place anytime soon, or whether this land is just going to be left to waste. But in the meantime, the remains of the stadium lay just beyond that wall, so should we go out and have a look? So as you can see, there is, assuming what used to be the clubhouse, potentially the players' entrance as well, completely left to rot, covered in graffiti. It's absolute graffiti galore. But what is quite exciting is there are areas of this that are panelled up that have been broken into, so I'm intrigued to see if we can get a glimpse of what is still inside, or at least what it used to be. Nothing overly exciting going on in here. Is an old washing machine, cans of paint and stuff, whether or not that was used by the club, or indeed whether it was actually used by the people that were, I say, renovating this, ultimately destroying it. Now slightly further along there is actually another opening, which is always exciting. Oh, okay, so I think we found a dressing room. That is quite cool, complete with a welcome mat. I'm assuming that then that's where the players would sit and get their team talks and stuff before going out onto the pitch. I assume through there and out there is a walkway onto the pitch. But without a doubt, it's very interesting to see grounds when they're like this. Obviously it's very sad, but it is also interesting because you do get a little bit behind the scenes and just what's left and what they have obviously taken down, which we'll get into when we actually get into the stadium in a minute. But you see what's left, and I always find that really fascinating, just to think of the players that would have sat there and, as I say, get their team talks, get changed. Yeah, it's very interesting. And without wanting to spoil too much of the pitch, we have actually got the turnstiles that we used back in the day. I say back in the day, it was only, the last game was actually 2021. They managed to come back here for a bit after being evicted in 2017. Really sort of underlines the piss poor execution of this supermarket project. But we'll have a quick walk through. So once again, that's the insides of where you'd get your tickets and stuff going through there. Crikey, that was not a flattering angle of myself at all. And then you would be out into this area, which is the pitch, or at least where it used to be. So of course, just there, that's the clubhouse. That's where obviously the players would get changed and come out of. and they'd make their way out here onto the pitch, which as you can see is overgrown, showing very little signs of there being a football pitch, except for, I don't know if you can quite make that out, you've got the little standing area that used to go around the pitch. So we'll go for a quick walk around there. Down these steps we go. Again, it is frustrating just to sort of look at the fact that really they probably still could have played here, despite the fact that obviously the Lidl has been built. They probably could have stayed here a little bit longer, which obviously could have completely changed their fortunes last season, which we'll get into very, very shortly. There's still so much here that could have been salvaged as a pitch. I don't think that the Lidl project has actually taken too much of their space. I might be wrong, who knows? But once again, it's showing very, very little signs of anything even resembling what used to be a football pitch, other than just a load of grass. There's the sign for the toilets as well, and their old badge up there, which, fun fact, they have changed, which again I will get into a little bit later on when we talk about how their fortunes have played out since leaving this stadium. Oh, this is very interesting. Another changing room. Again, it's just so odd to see what's left. Why hasn't this been knocked down yet? Why hasn't Wren's Kitchens been built? I never thought I'd be so bloody desperate to see a Wren's Kitchen. I only found out it existed a matter of days ago. So yeah, really, really unusual why this is still standing, why the land developers haven't actually knocked this down yet. Assuming that this used to be the clubhouse. Interesting. So this is probably where people would come. Obviously that would have been a bar. I think that's pretty hard to dispute. Smashed glass. But people would come in here, sit down, have a drink, a bit like, you know, the likes of Red Hill or some of the other non-league grounds that we've been to. Just completely left to rot. And I can't imagine that monthly plan has been used anytime soon. We'll see if it says anything. Absolutely nothing. But I don't really recommend anybody coming down and looking, or at least if you do, just be very careful, because there's a lot of broken glass on the floor. I know I've done a handful of these abandoned stadiums before, and obviously they're never going to be brilliantly kept, but there's like wires hanging down, glass on the floor. There's a lot of sort of health hazards, obviously, and obviously you don't know what people have come in here doing. I saw someone had done some graffiti saying no heroin. Maybe that's your lesson today to take away from today's video. Weird stuff. It's been almost 7 years now since the green light was given for this land development project to go ahead and to essentially bulldoze this ground that we're walking through at the moment. So why hasn't it happened yet? I mean, your guess is as good as mine at the end of the day, and if anybody does have any information, just out of pure interest, comment that down below, because it's so odd to walk through this land and just see a whole load of nothing really that has been done, and just all of this that is left. Why hasn't it been done yet? What is certain, however, is that Truro suffered massively as a result of putting all of their eggs into the new stadium basket, seeing them take on ground shares that move them further and further away from Cornwall. Truro Stadium nightmare started in the 2018-19 season, ground sharing with rivals Torquay United for the first half of the season, which severely impacted their spectator numbers to less than 200 home fans per game at best. Then they temporarily returned to Truro Road after work was surprisingly delayed on the Lidl project. However, their final game at their historic ground came in October 2020, when their new ground sharing with Plymouth Parkway began, which began as a smooth operation considering the 55-mile distance from their home, until the 2023-24 season, where things began to get very, very messy. Truro started their season the new normal way at Plymouth Parkway's Bolotho Park, before being forced to move a further 77 miles to Taunton in February 2024 due to poor weather conditions ruining the pitch. Unfortunately, the treacherous weather followed the White Tigers 132 miles away from their home, with constant waterlogging of the pitch resulting in the postponement of all their home games that were due to be played there. This had a serious knock-on effect for the end of their season, as Truro were forced to move yet again, with Gloucester City's home ground being shared with the Cornish side, a staggering 195-mile distance from their old stadium. On top of that, they were required to play their remaining fixtures on top of the ones that were postponed, leaving them with 13 games to be played in 29 days. That meant on average that the non-league side would have to play a fixture every 2 to 3 days for a whole month, and zero time for training. Absolutely mental. During that period, starting the 23rd of March and ending on the 13th of April 2024, Truro totted up 20 points out of a possible 39, finishing their first season back in the National League South in 16th place. Considering the adversities they faced during this run, I think they deserve a massive congratulations from the footballing world, and who knows, maybe even a new stadium to show for it. And a brand new stadium is exactly what they've got, ladies and gentlemen. What a wholesome end to this story. A 3,000-seater stadium right behind me, and a part of the Langarth Garden Village project that saw this stadium built. Project director Harry Lewis was adamant that he wanted Truro to be playing their football back in the Cornish capital. So when the negotiations came to be, he did everything that he could to get this stadium built and underway. And ladies and gentlemen, what a beautiful ground this is. And the new badge is behind me, and that's not the only new thing that they've had at the start of this season, as well as obviously this glorious stadium. They've also started the campaign with a new manager and a new nickname, now known as the White Tigers, and they've had a brilliant start to the season as well. It's a great club. Really great to see them back in Truro, actually playing their football here now. And ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to see what this stadium is like on a match day, my good friend on and off camera, the Devon Mackham, actually came here and vlogged their first ever game at this stadium against Dorking Wanderers. I won't spoil anything else though, but I will leave a link to it up here and in the description down below. But thanks again to Truro for allowing me to come in here and film today and finish off my stadium video. It's a beautiful end to what has been a very tricky saga for the club, but really positive to see that this drama has come to an end, and what a beautiful end it has come to as well, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you so much for watching as always. I will see you guys very soon in the next one. They're about to start training, so I need to go. Take care, peace and love.